It's St. Patrick's Day in the desert, and today we get our first look at Cy Young Award winner Corey Kluber. What a season it was a year ago for the stoic right-hander, cracking the Indians' all-time top 10 for strikeouts in a single season with 269 and winning 18 games to tie for the American League lead. Your pot of gold awaits in this St. Patty's Day matinee next on Sports Time Ohio. Among the tall cactus here in the southwestern desert and the swaying palm trees outside Goodyear Ballpark, it's Cactus League baseball spring training style as the Indians take on the Cincinnati Reds. Hi again, everyone. Matt Underwood alongside Rick Manning. Tribe continuing to prepare themselves for opening day as we tick off the days, just a couple of weeks away now. And for the Indians today, we'll get a look at Corey Kluber, who last year won the American League Cy Young Award. And we haven't seen him pitch live in person in a lot of games this spring. They've picked their spots. They've had him in some simulated situations. But, Rick, a year ago, he was absolutely outstanding.
Time to gear it up. Corey Kluber already going to be this year's opening day starter. He took baseball by storm, one of the best pitchers in the game, to win the Cy Young Award. Tied for first in wins. He was so consistent, throwing strikes with the slider, the curveball, the fastball, the changeup. He kept hitters on edge, and he was the most consistent pitcher I've seen in a long time.
And last year, the Indians' success formula was get a good start and then turn it over to that dominant bullpen. We're going to see those guys today. Brian Shaw, Mark Zubchinski, Cody Allen, all scheduled to pitch in back of Corey Kluber this afternoon against the Cincinnati Reds. And, oh, yeah, the regular starting lineup, a lot of those faces familiar to Tribe fans will be in there today. Play-by-play is next. Ballpark on another cloudless day here in the Valley. Looking at game time temperature probably in the low to mid 80s range. Billy Hamilton steps in to lead it off for Cincinnati. And the American League Cy Young Award winner, Corey Kluber, delivers the first pitch. And it's ball one. 84 degrees, officially our game time temperature today.
You found that out quickly.
Yeah. Jack's on it. A game. St. Patrick's Day. Billy Hamilton, a foul off of his front leg, and he goes down in a hurry, but able to bounce back quickly.
Well, he's one of those guys you want to try and tie up a little bit. He likes to bunt early in the game, likes to bring in the first and third baseman, utilizes his speed.
Hamilton 2 for 11 on the spring. One of his 2 hits, a solo home run. Came at the hands of the Indians, or at the expense of the Indians. Takes a strike. And a count now 1-2. Kluber's ability to pitch in and out last year was a huge reason for his success.
Yeah, he can pitch left-handers inside. He has that pitch, that comeback fastball a lot of times that runs back over the inside corner. A lot of left-handers give up on.
That 2-seam fastball to go along with a straight 4-seamer. And an unbelievable breaking pitch. Broke the bat of Hamilton. And Jason Kipnis puts it away. 1 down. Cincinnati starting lineup under manager Brian Price looks like this. After Hamilton, Skip Shoemaker, then Brandon Phillips, Devin Mesoraco cleanup, Todd Frazier batting 5th, then it's Jay Bruce, followed by Zach Cozart, Donald Lutz, and Christopher Negron. Skip Shoemaker, the DH today for Cincinnati. Indians serving as the home club in this, the ballpark that these two clubs share during the spring training. Boy, Rick, last year hard to find any fault with any of the numbers Corey Kluber put up last year.
Well, he just seemed to get better as the year went on. He was such a treat to watch.
Shoemaker drives on to center field, but Michael Bourne is there, and he makes the grab. 2 down.
Let's check that Tribe defense behind Kluber this afternoon. It looks like this. Brantley in left, Bourne in center. Moss is over and right. It'll be Chisenhall at third, Lindor at short, Kipnis at second, Santana at first, and Hayes doing the catching.
Pat Hoberg calling the balls and strikes, and on the bases today, Tony Randazzo, Mike McClinsky, and Quinn Walcott. With 2 down, Brandon Phillips will be the batter. Phillips on the spring is 6 for 22 at the plate. And there's no question among the Cincinnati Reds followers that if the Reds are to be a factor in the National League Central Division this year, Phillips has to again play the role of catalyst in that offense.
Yeah, and Votto has to play all the time, who missed 100 games last year for him. They have to stay healthy. Hey, like most clubs,
sure.
You can't lose the middle part of your lineup and expect to be able to fill in with some help. It just doesn't work that way.
Fouled back.
Brandon's a gamer. He loves the game of baseball. He enjoys it. He's great at defensively.
And he's that motor, that high motor guy that when he's going well.
You know, he's that floater where he'll hit second sometimes, third or fourth, depending on what they need in the lineup.
A ball and 2 strikes as Kluber delivers. Tough pitch to lay off. He did, and it's even at 2-2. Over the last 3 years, back-to-back 18 homer seasons, and then dealing with injuries last year, his numbers plummeted. 2-2. Laid off, full count. Two down, bases empty. Corey Kluber, last year, 11 times he struck out 10 or more batters in a game. And that was 4th best in a single season in Cleveland franchise history. And this is an organization that has tremendous pitching historically. When you go all the way back to Addie Joss, who's in the Hall of Fame, and Bob Feller and Gaylord Perry, and the big four with Feller, Garcia, Wynn, Sudden, Sam McDowell, Louis Tion. I mean, to think that's how special a year he had last year. Again, the 3-2, and it misses inside, ball 4. A rare walk from Corey Kluber, and a 2-out base runner for Cincinnati.
I'll give Phillips some credit right there to work the walk. But there's the list you're talking about, and you can see it's Feller and McDowell when you talk about the strikeouts. Tion is up there, Herbie score. But he cracked number 6 last year with the year he had, and it was fun to watch. And I think the reason why he had so many strikeouts is because he's ahead of so many hitters.
Yeah.
It's not that he goes out there and tries to strike them out. He expands their strike zone. And I think a lot of this young Cleveland pitching staff followed suit, watching this guy pitch every 5 days last year.
Devin Mesoraco on the spring, 2 for 9 at the dish. And a pitch up high, 2 balls, no strikes. This is something we rarely saw from Kluber last year, pitching from behind, because you don't have back-to-back 14 strikeout games. By the way, when he did that last year, only the 9th pitcher in Major League Baseball history to do that. And he missed again. It's 3-0. Taking all the way, it's in there for a strike. We sometimes forget that even as good a shape as these guys are in year round now, pitchers still have to get their arms back into game shape, and it takes a while.
That's why spring training is still 6 weeks long. If you were a hitter, you certainly don't need the 6 weeks.
Half swing, liner to second. Kipnis with a basket catch to retire the side. No runs, no hits, 1 man left. The Indians are coming to bat when we come back. Afternoon, Michael Bourne in his familiar spot at the top of the order. Then it's Jason Kipnis, followed by Michael Brantley. Carlos Santana cleanup, then Brandon Moss gets his first start in right field today. Yan Gomes will DH bat 6th. Then it's Lonnie Chisenhall, Brett Hayes, and Francisco Lindor.
27-year-older Michael Leake on the mound, 5'10", 190 pounds, a control guy. He was 11-13 last year with a 3.70 ERA. 50 walks, and he pitches. He moves it in and out, changes speeds, a lot like a Josh Tomlin for Indians fans out there. Remember, those two have matched up before in Cincinnati. They like to move it in and out and change speeds.
Slowly chopped back to the mound. Leak throws him out and one away.
Check out the Reds D behind Leak today. It's Negron in left, Hamilton in center, Bruce is in right, Frazier at third, Cozart at short, Phillips is at second, Lutz at first, Mesoraco doing the catching.
Here is Jason Kipnis. And Mike Leake's pitch ran away from him. Ball one. Kipnis having a fine spring. Going 4 for 16 at the plate so far. Terry Francona feels like starting to get the Jason Kipnis back that we saw a couple of years ago when he was dynamite at second base, and offensively he was driving the ball to the opposite field, meaning to left field. And Terry said he's done a great job getting his legs back under him, strong base, and he said he's been getting after it since day one.
Well, when you have the kind of year Kipnis had last year, I guarantee it was eating at him all winter long. He could not wait for this year to start because he has something to prove.
Tried to bang that one up the middle, but Cozart had him shaded that way. 2 down. Up comes Michael Brantley. And a year ago, Brantley authored a phenomenal season. Won the Silver Slugger Award when he hit .327. You see the numbers there. Only the 4th Cleveland Indian in franchise history to collect 200 hits, along with 45 doubles, 20 homers, and at least 20 steals. But I think most important of all, when you talk about all of those numbers, is, Rick, the fact that he was on the field 156 times.
Wow.
Being healthy, being able to be counted on day in and day out, hugely important for this club.
That's how you get 200 hits. To me, the most impressive number on that list is 200 hits. Because when you look at the 15 or more game hitting streaks that he has, Michael has 4. And I mean, would he have 6, 9 or more game hitting streaks last year? So this guy was really consistent. And he's just quiet about how he goes his business around his business. 2-strike hitter. He's awfully good. He got a little more aggressive early in the count last year if he felt these guys are going to try and throw a fastball by him for strike 1.
He's starting to become one of those hitters too that he has such a good eye and discipline at the plate that the border calls are they're going to tend to go his way, much like that one right there as he draws a 2-out walk.
Yeah.
Take a look back at last year. Hit number 200 for Brantley. Ground ball single right back up the middle. Just, fundamentally sound.
When you get 200 hits, it's like sometimes they only have 3 guys out there defensively. But there's an awful lot of times when you go out there, it seems like 15 guys are out in that field when you can't buy a hit.
Carlos Santana looks at a ball outside. Santana, .296 average this spring. He's gone 8 for 27 at the plate with a couple of home runs and 4 driven in. Big chopper foul.
That's the one thing about Santana you got to look for this year is hopefully some better or more consistency. He got off to that horrendous start last year for the first 2 months.
For whatever reason, and you've pointed this out in the past, Santana's a Jekyll and Hyde hitter. When there's nobody on base or nobody in scoring position, he's patient, works the count. Runners in scoring position, he changes and suddenly gets overly aggressive.
Yeah, he gets too aggressive. He changes his pattern because he wants to try and drive them in so badly. Look, you're going to drive them in just from being the hitter you normally are, but, when you get in RBI spots, that's where you have the pitcher, where you just remain patient and you're going to get something to hit. He turns the opposite. He gets more aggressive and gets himself out a lot of the times.
Snap throw to first. Brantley able to just get back in time.
Because Carlos has a great eye at the plate, so there's no problem for him to get into hitters' counts. He's into them, it seems like, every at bat. You know, and even if they get him down 0-2, it seems like he works it to 3-2 every time.
Downstairs, nicely blocked by Mesoraco.
He doesn't chase a lot of pitches out of the zone. Does a nice job of blocking that ball. Once you know you call for that breaking ball, it's going to be in the dirt. See if you can get him to chase. And he flipped that glove around quickly.
2 down, runner at first, 2-2 pitch. Santana rung up to end the inning. No runs a hit, 1 man left for the Tribe. We are scoreless after 1 in Goodyear.
Bat on your smartphone or tablet. Stay connected with live radio broadcasts, stats, breaking news, and more. Download MLB.com at Bat, the #1 app for live baseball.
Second inning here in Goodyear. No score. Todd Frazier to lead it off for Cincinnati. Kluber's pitch in the dirt for ball 1. Frazier with 29 homers, 4th best on the senior circuit last year.
Here's a guy, he likes to get in the box. He gets after it early, too. He's an aggressive hitter.
Aggressively swinging at that pitch and sending it way out of here. And Todd Frazier gives Cincinnati the lead with his first home run of the spring, 1-0.
Yeah, he got looked like a fastball to me that was upstairs, and I'll tell you, he can hit him a long way. And he did not miss it, so that feels good. You always want to get that first home run of the spring and get it over with. He picks on a pitch right down the middle by Kluber and hits it out of here. So Cincinnati will take a 1-0 lead, as you said, on his first homer of the spring.
That'll bring up Jay Bruce. Trying to bunt third base side, but it's foul. Indians have the shift on for Bruce with 3 on the right side, but Chisenhall was playing over towards third base to try and take that potential bunt away.
You remember the first time we televised a game here, they did the same thing with Bruce, and Chisenhall was in, but he got a base hit up the middle. When you get to 2 strikes, then he'll float back and play shortstop, or the depth of a shortstop. He takes that bunt away right there if you stay in.
Checked on the ball just low.
But we'll see a lot of the shifts. The Indians shift a lot. It seems like every team is doing it more and more every year with certain hitters.
Now the 1-1. Couldn't hold up that time. What's been interesting to see this spring is how they've incorporated drills during practice time where they've got the second baseman on the cut of the grass, or not on the cut, but out on the grass. So
right.
he's working ground balls and how they get to him from the outfield.
Well, as often as they play out there, you have to. You have to get out there and do it, because you got to work just as hard at that. Yeah, how many times do you see an infielder taking balls off the grass? You know, because you get used to it, and it varies.
And that throws a completely different angle than
yes, it is.
Normal.
You get your arm slot up to where you're going to have to throw it from, depending on how deep you are.
Bruce pulls it foul. Francisco Lindor getting the start today for the Indians at shortstop. He's pulled onto the infield over on the right side of the bag, so he's playing what would be a normal second base position, shading a guy up the middle. Now the 2-2, and Bruce fouls it back. Yeah, the shift doesn't appear to be going anywhere anytime soon.
I don't think it should. With all the defensive work they've done in. Oh, yeah. Nice little breaking ball.
Caught him looking. First strikeout for Kluber, one down here in inning number 2.
Watch it just drop in right there. And excellent. It's a curveball. You know, it looks like a slider.
It's got a tight spin to it.
And there's Kluber's pitch grips. The fastball, he holds it on the two-seam version. That's why he gets a little sink to it. He's got the curveball that he really comes down on, and that was the pitch that he just struck him out on. And then he has a cutter, and that one runs in, and he throws that one a lot when he needs a strike or wants to get it in on left-handed hitters.
Yeah, the thing you notice with the cutter is it's just off the center of the grip, so he wants it to move, not a lot.
Right,
but just a little bit of movement.
But that's what a true slider. The cutter is now really what the true slider used to be. That's why he calls what we say his slider his curveball, because it's got much more break to it.
Yeah.
So his cutter is actually his slider. When you look at the pitch grips, he's just off the center of the cutter, the one on your right side of the screen. That's the one that he can tighten it up and throw it for strikes at any time. The curveball, you want to get people to chase after it. And then his fastball, he's got the two-seam and a four-seam to go with it as well. And a changeup. But our screen's only so big.
2 balls and a strike. And what you also didn't see on the pitch grip frame is with that curveball, that's how he grips it, but that's not how it comes out of his hand. He's actually pulling straight down. That's why he's got that finger on the seam to create that spin.
Downward action.
Right fielder Brandon Moss makes the catch. It's his second start in the outfield this spring. So Moss getting an opportunity to kind of ease into it. Manager Terry Francona and the medical staff, they feel like he's been incredible this spring.
Yeah.
I mean, I think he's far exceeded their expectations in terms of what he's been able to do up till now. But they don't want to, there's no reason to rush.
And I totally understand. You know, hopefully we'll get a chance to talk to him when he comes out of the ball game today, and we can find out.
Yeah.
Because he has been a lot quicker than everybody else has thought he was going to be, which is a good thing.
Ground ball right at the shortstop, Lindor. And the Reds are retired after the leadoff homer by Todd Frazier. Cincinnati 1, Cleveland 0. Bottom of the second inning, Reds lead the Indians 1-0. Brandon Moss, Yan Gomes, and Lonnie Chisenhall due for Cleveland. Moss a swing and a miss in a count 1-1. Matt Underwood, Rick Manning with you. Let's go down to the Tribe dugout where we are joined now by Indians bench coach Brad Mills, who going back to the 1970s, the mid-1970s when they were college teammates at Arizona, has been picking up Terry Francona for a long time. And here he is again, picking him up. Tito's out. Brad Mills steps right in, fills the void, managing the club today.
Oh, geez.
Oh, my.
Boy, that got that pad right in front of you, Millsy.
Oh, man, I almost got whacked, guys. Oh, man.
Wow.
The heart, that'll get the heart pumping a little bit.
Keep one eye on the batter.
Yeah, with this guy hitting, no doubt.
Oh, man.
Nice getting him out in the field, huh? He's passed every test so far, hasn't he?
You know what? And he's so excited about getting out there. He wants to he's going through the drills in the morning. He's really done a good job. He's excited to get out there and do the drills. I think he's thrilled to be able to move around as well as he is.
Yeah, and no ill effects from everything.
Boy, he's coming.
You caught that one barehanded, no problem.
Oh, man, I got to keep my heads up. You kidding me? He's coming after me.
We're going to get a replay of the first one. This is how. Oh, man, that was frightfully close. Glad you didn't see the replay.
I felt it.
Just fouled on the right side again, Moss. And again, Brad, for a guy who had hip surgery, he hasn't been limited really in any way this spring, has he?
He's done such a good job of working hard to get ready, and I think our medical staff has done a good job. And Joe Kessler, our strength and conditioning coach, has done a real good job of really getting him stronger so he can move around a little bit better.
Cuts and misses, strikes out. Second K for League. One down here in inning number 2.
Brad, you're in charge of setting this whole spring up as it rolls through, and for you, it's been going very well this spring, hasn't it, for everybody?
Well, it's and again, I was thinking about this just the other day. Ricky, we're in a situation where we know who our catcher is going to be for the most part. We know who's going to be at first base. We know who's going to be at second. And, with Ramirez, the way he finished up the season at shortstop, we're looking for him. Chiz is going to be at third. So, we're pretty well set. We're waiting to see how Swish is going to be. But the outfield is pretty well set with Brantley and Bourne. Then we got Mossy and Murph out there. And it's kind of nice when you have those guys and you can do things team-specific for them as we work on our defense and so forth.
Well, and you have had a lot of new defensive drills this spring because that was one thing that you guys wanted to work on and focus on, and you've sped up the drills a little bit, haven't you?
Well, we have because we know who's going to be out there, so we try to have those guys work together a little bit. And if we can speed up the drills, make them a little bit more game-like, and put a little more pressure on the guys.
Boy, and you're front and center on a lot of those drills. And, you're firing a lot of information out there when those guys are on the infield, first and second, one out, runner third, nobody out, and everybody's got to be on their toes. So you're incorporating the mental as much as the physical, aren't you?
Yeah, there's no doubt that we want to be able to do that simply because, it's and you guys know this game is anticipation. And if we can give them a situation, then they can anticipate, well, if the ball's hit to me, where am I going to go? If it's hit hard, hit soft, to my right, to my left. And so we try to have these guys, if we can do it fast and get them to think quick, we're going to be ahead of the game, we feel.
Well, here's Lonnie Chisenhall, who came into his own a season ago.
Are we getting to the point yet, Brad, where it's time to get rolling?
Well, you get around the middle like we are now.
Yeah.
The off day tomorrow comes at a real good time, we feel, and then we have 2 night games back-to-back. And it's going to be nice to be able to kind of put all that together. Well, that Sun's battling him. He got it.
He did, and make a nice catch battling the sun in left field, did Christopher Negron. Brad, thanks for stopping by. We appreciate your time.
All righty, guys.
Bench coach Brad Mills with us here. Reds lead it 1-0.
Grab some friends and catch a game at the new 2-story bar at Progressive Field with our $13 district ticket. It's presented by Sports Time Ohio. It's a new bar. It's the best place in town to grab a cold one. And with the district ticket, your first drink is on us. Visit Indians.com.
Christopher Negron, the leadoff for Cincinnati here in the 3rd inning. Batting 9th in the Cincinnati lineup today. 6 hits and 20 at bats for Negron. Hit well, deep left. Back goes Brantley again, looking up. She is gone. Over the bullpen. Second home run of the day for Cincinnati. Both solo shots, both leadoff home runs.
Both on 1-0 counts.
And they lead it now 2-0.
Now, this guy, he had a heck of a year against the Indians last year. He just loves seeing a Cleveland Indian uniform and a 1-0 pitch. And again, it's a fastball that he's just going to throw for a strike and get it in the zone. And Cincinnati Reds hitter takes advantage of it, hits it out of the ballpark, and it's a 2-0 lead.
Top of the order, Billy Hamilton. Pops him up on the infield. The shortstop Lindor calling for it. 1 down. Now, we're going to have Corey Kluber kind of take you through each of his pitches. Pay particular attention, close attention to when he talks about his breaking ball.
4-seam fastball. I don't throw it that often. We mix it in certain spots here and there. Most of the time I'll throw a 2-seam fastball just across those seams right there. My changeup is pretty much the same grip as that, just with those 2 fingers, and then the circle with the other ones. My cutter is basically, I take my 4-seam fastball grip and just offset it a little bit, still throw it like a fastball. Just the offsetting it doesn't allow you to get through it quite as well, which causes it to cut. And then my breaking ball, basically again my 2-seam grip, move my 2 fingers together and then just move my thumb up on the ball, and I'm trying to get out in front of it, get my fingers over the ball.
Skip Shoemaker with a 1-out triple. Well, the part I wanted you to really pay close attention to, we weren't able to show you there, but it's that, you know, the way he gets the fingers on that seam and delivers a baseball. You know, you watch somebody doing it, how in the world can you do that and throw a baseball and make it land in the catcher's glove 60 feet away?
And control it.
It's amazing what he's able to do with that pitch.
Well, 3 hits for Cincinnati, all extra base hits, the 2 homers and now a triple, and the Indians are going to pull the infield in here with 1 out.
Brandon Phillips walked his first time up. So when he throws that curveball, you see changes the wrist angle. It's just simply pulling it straight down. Two balls, no strikes. Right at the bottom of the zone, Phillips not in agreement with home plate umpire Pat Hoberg.
There's a side view of that pitch, and boy, that's either a perfect pitch.
That's scraping the bottom of the zone, huh?
Yeah, it's either a perfect pitch for the pitcher. As a hitter, you're saying that. Well, you don't have to swing at it 2-0.
That one's upstairs. 3 balls and a strike. And that breaking ball missed up high. Second walk of the game. Both times it's been Phillips who's drawn the free pass. Kluber scheduled to go 4 innings today. And Mickey Callaway told me that by the end of spring training, he wants all of his starters to be at 105 pitches. And he said, you know, normally they're going to go 5-6 innings by the time you get to the end of spring training. He said, I'm not saying they're going to throw 105 pitches in that many innings, but they'll get them up to a certain count, and then they'll go finish it in the bullpen so they can get the other guys the work they need. But he wants them all to be at 105 by the time they end camp. He said that way when we start the season, we're not having to worry about, well, so-and-so's not stretched out enough.
Yeah, 105 pitches is about right, because when you start the year out, that could be 5 innings if you don't have your control, you know, for a pitcher coming into game action. Could be 7 innings if you're throwing strikes.
Off the foot of Mesoraco. Well, Mickey told me that the only other guy he remembered that went 8 innings in a spring training game, he said a couple of years ago, I think Ubaldo Jimenez did it one time. But he said usually you just, the guys, and that was just because he was 3 pitches, 4 or 5 pitches in an inning, and bing,
probably
bang,
because
boom.
the hitters just didn't want to get out of there.
Yeah, could be.
8 innings. He never pitched 8 innings in a regular season game too often.
Well, the second half of that year, he was pretty good, though. The 0-2 to the backstop. Hayes pounces on it, throws home, but not in time as Shoemaker scores. And the Reds lead it 3-0. Down to second goes Phillips.
I want to take a look at this pitch here. That's that little breaking ball, curveball, and it was away, but you could see how sharply that thing breaks. You know, Hayes not a guy that caught Kluber before a whole lot, other than maybe in this spring, and I'm not sure if he's ever caught him before in game action, but ball gets by him. It'll go as a wild pitch, and everybody moves up.
Now the 1-2. Swing and a miss. Ball gets away again. Hayes chases this one. Fires to first. And Santana with a stretch. They get Mesoraco. 2 down. Phillips goes to third.
Again, another wild pitch on that strikeout. Allows Phillips to get to third. It comes the curveball again. And boy, you got to move that body. And Hayes is realizing how sharp that breaking ball is from Corey Kluber. Usually Yan Gomes, who's DHing today, he's behind the plate, and those two work together so well. But you don't blame a catcher, because this guy on the mound has electric stuff.
Todd Frazier homered his first time up. Hits that one off the end of the bat and breaks the bat. Half of it went down the third baseline.
Now he'll have a half a bat. Be a lot quicker. The cupped end. You see it falls apart. That'll be retired. Goes right off the end. And off comes a piece of the barrel of that bat. Look at that.
Brandon Phillips, the runner at third with 2 down. Missed outside. 1 ball, 1 strike. Nice stop by Hayes that time. He was going to make sure that one didn't get to the backstop.
Well, another tough pitch to handle as a catcher. When you call that pitch, now he's thrown about 3 straight that's gone down and into the dirt. So you may want to set up out there a little bit, because that's where they're going right now. And Kluber looks just a little out of whack here in this inning, not commanding the fastball.
Upstairs once again with that fastball, and it's 3-1. You hear pitchers talk about during spring training a dead arm period. I don't know if it's so much a dead arm thing, or you just, you're working so much, throwing a lot in spring training. There are some days you just don't feel it. You just don't have it.
You know what? This is only his second start in the A games, and you know what? Game situation will dictate a lot, whether it's in spring training or not. He's been in a lot of B games or some simulated games, but
2 runs, 2 hits, a man left. Middle of the third, 3-0 Reds. Score 3-0 as we go to the bottom of the third. It'll be Brett Hayes, Francisco Lindor, and Michael Bourne due up for the Tribe. Let's go back down to the dugout where we're joined now by Indians pitcher Scott Atchison. Scott, how are you today?
I'm doing good. How are y'all?
Well, he was doing fine up until in between innings. He hit his knee on a metal pole.
It's never good.
He's hurt.
Kneecapper right there. How's this spring gone for you? And you've been to a lot of them.
It's going well so far, no problems.
There you go.
It's going better now. Get up. Oh.
Deep left, but run down on the track by Christopher Negron, 1 down.
Going well. Feel good. Everything's coming along the way it needs to be, and, kind of prepping to get ready to be peaking at April 6th.
I was sharing with Rick the story about you were telling Terry the other day when you first broke into the game, and how meal money has changed for minor league guys, and you've seen some changes in the game, and more specifically, Scott, the importance of having guys in the bullpen who fill specific roles. That has really become maybe one of the more important aspects in putting together a major league team now, isn't it, compared to when you first started out?
Well, I think so. I think you're seeing a little more of the specialization from guys and stuff. Really, from us, we've got a little bit of everything down there. I think we got, most of our lefties can get the righties out, and the righties can get the lefties out, and I think Tito likes it that way. He has some guys that can throw, more than an inning if he needs to, and go that way. But overall, in the game, like I said, there's a lot of it. We're going to play a lot of matchups late in the game because the numbers prove it out. So, and if guys can get a righty out, then they're going to put them in. If they can't, then we'll go a different route. But it's definitely made for some interesting changes. Maybe it's kept me around the game a little longer. Who knows? But
Tito is great about it because we had 4 guys with 70 or more appearances. You were one of them. But he doesn't abuse you when he gets in there. You may pitch a lot, but you don't get the innings.
No, exactly. I think that's huge. I don't recall really going over 30 pitches probably at all last year. I think they kind of look at that as a top end on how many pitches you're going to throw
for one day.
Yeah, you're going to see relievers. I think if you start looking at most of them stats after 30 pitches, most of us things go downhill. It's just the way we're trained and what we train for. So you see that, but he does a great job. We don't get a lot of warm-ups in there where you don't get in the game and things like that, and I think that helped all of us to stay healthy last year, and hopefully continue that this year.
Scott Atchison, our guest here in the third inning with Michael Bourne at the plate. So, you were talking about how the way the bullpen has evolved and maybe it's helped to extend your career. I mean, there was a point in your career where I think you were pitching with the Giants, then you went to Japan, and then what happened to your career after that? Did pitching in Japan maybe revitalize you, get you going again?
Well, I've changed as a pitcher as a whole. When I was coming up, I was kind of a fastball, curveball guy. A lot of fly balls, which tend to fly out of the park, so that's not the best. Over there, I was really able to kind of refine my slider, which is now, I call it a cutter. It's kind of probably a cross between a slider and a cutter. But, I was able to get that, I don't want to say perfected, but I was much more effective with it and found out how to pitch with it. And since I've been back, it's kind of my go-to. I get behind in the count, and I'll go to that a lot of times, and I can get out of a jam. It's been a ground, and it's changed me really into a kind of more of a ground ball pitcher for the most part, which is what you're trying to get. Like I said, that's going to get you out of jams too. A double play will save you all the time. So, that helped. Pitching over there, I pitched in I was just kind of the seventh inning guy with our team, and I got used to pitching in the pressure in front of big crowds and how to handle it. And really, the game slowed down a little bit for me. And some guys it just takes longer than others to get a feel. And I've had a pretty good run since I've been back, and just trying to enjoy it.
And it's still your career high, I believe. 75 games you pitched that second year you were with Henshin in Japan.
Yeah, that was a big year. I think 75 games and 90 innings. I threw well. The season's a little different. You get a few more off days in there, so things weren't as bad as maybe they sound compared to if somebody did that over here. You'd probably everybody throw up a red flag in a hurry. But so it was a little different, but I felt good all year and didn't have any problems. And like I said, was able to capitalize that and get back over here.
Scott, thanks so much for your time. Great job last year, and look forward to more this season.
No problem. Thank you, guys.
That's Scott Atchison. Double play ends the third, 3-0 Cincinnati. We're 3-0 as we go down to the fourth inning here in Goodyear. And we're happy to welcome into the booth now Indians owner Paul Dolan. Enjoying another beautiful day here in Goodyear, Arizona. The season is fast approaching, and I know there's a lot of work being done back at home at Progressive Field. And fans are at the ballpark today, earlier this afternoon, checking things out.
I understand about 1,000 of them came through, got a little early tour of the renovations at the ballpark. And I also understand the reviews were good.
Well, that's certainly positive. How exciting is that for you after 20 years at Progressive Field to see it undergo what isn't just a new coat of paint? This is a pretty major overhaul.
It will look very different depending upon where you're at. Certainly the way it connects to the city out on East 9th Street will be dramatically different. And then the whole right field section, or district as we're going to call it, is going to be very different looking, and you can use it in a very different way.
Corey Kluber on a hill for the Tribe here. Strikes out Jay Bruce to start this fourth inning. Third strikeout for Kluber.
Well, they were certainly tested this winter with the chill they had in February, but these workers, they got after it, and they were remarkable, weren't they?
They did a remarkable job. Unfortunately, when we needed the weather to warm up, because we were starting to pour concrete in the light, it worked out well.
Yeah, 60 degrees yesterday, I heard. Yeah. We'll take that on opening day.
Yeah,
huh?
I'm really looking forward to seeing this.
I'll still take yesterday here over.
Well, yeah, you're getting to spend maybe a little more time in Arizona than normal. It's beautiful, isn't it, in the springtime?
Oh gosh, it's really wonderful. It's one of the nice things about your kids all going off to college.
Yeah, you
get to go.
Well, how's it been for you watching spring training games and things like that? Do you have younger players that you see get a chance to play at the big league level that you may root for?
Obviously, it's been fun to watch Lindor this spring.
He's been a treat, hasn't he?
He's been phenomenal, and clearly when the time is coming for him, and it's coming soon,
right,
he's going to be a big part of this organization going forward. So that's been fun. You know, the minor leaguers are also just sort of arriving now and starting to play, and that I actually come to enjoy that almost more, because these guys are practicing and just sharpening up their games, and the minor leaguers are, they're the future.
Well, they're young pitchers but they're everyday players. They get about 3 weeks and they break and say, let's start. They play their 140 some game schedule.
Well, this is I wouldn't say it's the first time in a long time, but it's certainly a rare year in that we know most of these young minor league players now. It's not like, well, who are these guys we're trying to learn? We've seen Aguilar, we've seen Lindor, we've seen Urshela, even Clint Frazier hit another home run yesterday in a simulated game when I was watching him. We're starting to know who these next wave of prospects are.
Right.
And that's kind of exciting. I would imagine not only for the fans, but from where you sit as well.
Well, particularly when you look at the very young nucleus of players on the Major League roster now who are contributing. I mean, it's hard to find a contributing player on this roster now who we don't control for at least 3 years. So we are just at the beginning of what should be a long run of competitive, if not championship baseball.
Well, and not only that, the teams in Columbus and Akron are going to have some very good, fun teams to watch as well.
They are, very much so.
There's Big Donald Lutz, who grounded to short his first time up. Looks at a ball down in the dirt.
You know, you hear it, and they talk about depth and pitching and everything you need. You did have Floyd go down this spring. It had to be disappointing, and then, but they do have guys that are able to pick up the slack.
Right. How many gazillions of times you've heard you can't have too much pitching? So we went out and tried to add a little more depth, and that one didn't work so well. On the other hand,
he says disappointing. Disappointing. We're not writing a check.
Yeah.
Well, it's a little different. But that, as you said, and Chris Antonetti said, we walked into it with our eyes open. Yeah. We knew there was a possibility that this could be the net result.
Of the players available to us at that time, though, he had the most upside. So there was a lot of risk, and we realized that risk, but there would have been a significant reward if he had been able to stay healthy.
Mickey Callaway was raving when we first showed up at spring training, saying he's throwing the ball well, and it happens. I mean, you look all around baseball; it's just not here. It's happened in a number of different spots.
Flip side of that, Brandon Moss, who we also took a risk on because of his hip injury. He looks really healthy, and boy, that power is impressive.
Swing and a miss.
Well, I don't know if you remember last year when Oakland came to town and they beat us up pretty good early in the year. He was a big part of it, where we saw that ball fly into the right field seats.
Well, that's one of the more exciting things to look forward to this season. What can that guy do playing outside of Oakland Coliseum?
Oh, exactly. It's going to be it should be a lot easier at least to hit him in Cleveland. And the one thing about it, he's a great guy.
Yes.
Struck him out looking.
Boy, that was a quick inning. You were
Kluber's first 1-2-3 inning this afternoon, scheduled to go 4. He goes 4, strikes out 4, but the Reds lead it 3-0. We'll continue with Indians owner Paul Dolan right after this. Back here in Goodyear, where the Reds lead the Indians by a score of 3-0. Bottom of the fourth, it'll be Michael Brantley, Carlos Santana, Brandon Moss for the Tribe. We're visiting once again with Indians owner Paul Dolan, who earlier this afternoon had a chance to visit with new baseball commissioner Rob Manfred, who's making the rounds here in the Cactus League. And today he spent some time with the Indians ball club, and then you spent a little one-on-one time with him. And you spent 15 years in the game with Bud Selig as a commissioner, so this is a transitional period. But everybody seems to be very impressed, myself included, with Rob Manfred and his ability to just sit down at a table and talk.
Oh, no question. And 15 years with Bud Selig, but also 15 years with Rob Manfred. He's been in the game as long as we have, and he was really at the table turning around our relationship with the Players Association. Rob came into baseball right before we did, actually, and under his tutelage, we've managed to not have a stoppage, and we've made great progress in the game. And now Rob's going to be in a position to take a leadership role, and Bud's time in the game was great, and he did a good job for the time he was there. But like the ballpark, the game has changed, and the world, the business has changed, and Rob is going to be on top of that. And I think he's going to take baseball to where it needs to be to compete with the other leagues.
Well, he came in and hit the ground running. We saw him at a seminar out in Los Angeles when we were at the Fox meetings, and he was fun to listen to.
Yeah.
Paul, what's impressive to me is he's not afraid to at least put issues out there. He's not coming out and saying, hey, we're going to do away with the shift. But he's not afraid to say, hey, you know what? Let's talk about it.
Yeah,
is the shift good for baseball? If it's not, then maybe we should make changes. He's not a knee-jerk guy, but he's not afraid to throw things out there to talk.
Without the ego. Without ego, he just simply, that particular example, he said, look, I threw it out there. Hey, I was wrong. But, we talked about it. It was good for baseball to even have the discussion. And I'm sure he's going to do that with all kinds of different things, and some things we'll adopt, some things we won't.
And a lot of people earlier today asked him about the pace of play. I just like the idea of, or thought of it, of consciously just let's go. When we're back and the boys are ready on the field to go. And it will make a difference. And you won't have to get a shot clock or a time clock in there if they get used to it.
Yeah, the game has got to pick up the pace, and everybody is motivated to make that happen. And he's going to lead that.
And I think it's worth repeating, because sometimes people only read the cliff notes or read the captions. That a lot of these changes have nothing to do. There's no clock during the game. The clock is only for commercial break purposes only.
Right.
Let's go, guys. As soon as the last out, let's get on the field, get our warm-up tosses so we're ready to go. Once the game starts again, there's no clock on the field.
No, there will be in the minor leagues, but not
I was about to say, that we may be headed down that path to have some form of clock.
Hopefully not.
With the pitchers. If everybody pitches like Mark Burley, that discussion won't happen.
Well, yeah.
But we'll see. We just need to get pitchers to throw the ball and batters to be ready and get going.
It's just being aware, and we've gotten away from that. It used to be where the umpires used to control it and take charge of it. And back in the olden days, hey, let's go on and off the field. Here we go. But now television's involved. There's commercial time and there's commercial breaks for bullpens, and you just have to be aware of it. And I think once you are, it's not going to be as big a deal as everybody thinks it is.
And to your point here, because the commissioner talked about that today, they're going to empower umpires in a soft way.
Yeah.
So just say, like, okay, guys, let's move it
Come
along.
on.
Not have to hammer them and penalize them or something. Just
they shouldn't be the bad guys in all of this anyway.
Right. I think to Paul's point, with Rob Manfred as the backdrop of this whole conversation, this thing is implemented, and it's probably starting to work because it's in cooperation with the players. The players want this too. They don't want the lag time. Now, maybe there are certain individuals that are part of the problem when it comes to the...
Somebody in Boston, maybe?
There spits in his hands every time he steps out of the box. But I think as a whole, guys, as long as it's in their head that we've got to go, it's just the athlete's reaction. They're going to pick up the pace.
Yeah, they want to be on their toes. They want the game to be interesting for them, too.
Thanks for stopping by. Appreciate your time.
I'm really glad to be here. Happy St. Patrick's Day to
Same to you. Good luck the rest of the spring.
I couldn't find anything green in my wardrobe today.
We'll excuse you. There's the clock counting down for the starting pitcher to be ready. And once we get into the regular season, when that clock hits 30, the pitcher is supposed to be done with his warm-up tosses, and the batter is supposed to be making his way to home plate.
Well, yeah, this is what's going to go into play as the season starts. 40 seconds remain. Batter will be announced.
Batter is just being announced as we speak.
All right,
it's
and
at 40
20 seconds on, then the batter should be making his way to the batter's box and get ready to get in. And then when it hits 0, you should be ready to throw it. Now, April, there's not going to be any fines or anything like that, but it will start May 1st. And the hitters and everything will be fined. And they're going to have their own separate thing like that.
Batter's in the box already.
Yeah, all right. So, and here you go. They're going to be ready to go when it comes 0. Here comes Shaw.
And look, as we talked about before, athletes, when there's a clock, when it's in their mind, they're starting to think about it. So, not that it's distracting, but it's just a sort of impetus to get going. Brian Shaw into the ball game. First pitch swinging. Christopher Negron. What do you know? He sees Chief Wahoo. He's 2 for 2.
Well, you jump right in and you get that first fastball. He's had 2 good fastballs and he's hit them both today. One out of the ballpark, this one for a base hit. The numbers for Brian Shaw last year, 80 games Brian appeared in. Right now he's trying to get his fastball down in spring training because he's been roughed up a little bit.
Billy Hamilton 0 for 2. He's popped up twice on the day. First time he squared around, pulls it back. It's ball 1. Corey Kluber got the start, went 4 innings, and he'll finish his day in the bullpen. And this is what we were talking about before. Made 65 pitches, probably needs about maybe another 10, I'm assuming, as he builds his way towards that 105 pitch mark. That ball got away. And around second on his way to third goes Negron. Here's the throw, not in time. So the error on Shaw puts Negron at third base.
Go over to first base. He threw it up the line where Santana couldn't get over there with Negron coming back to first base. It gets by him. He goes all the way to third. So the throwing error at Cincinnati will have another opportunity here with less than 2 outs, and the infield comes in with nobody out. But this is Hamilton hitting, so a little different.
A little bit high. 2-0 with the infield drawn in. Swing and a miss, tied him up. Up the middle and through, base hit.
Well, that's what you were looking for, ground ball, but not to find a hole.
Reds lead it 4-0 as Hamilton has his second RBI on the spring.
That would have been a good pitch if Negron was on first base, because the possibility of a double play might have been there with that ground ball, but maybe not with this guy running. But after the error sends him to third, the infield was in, it gets through.
But it goes back to a point that people like Brad Mills and Mike Sarabaugh and, of course, Terry Francona have been trying to make all spring long, and that is when it comes to defense, you give the play that's in front of you. What you don't want to do is exacerbate it and turn it into something bigger. And so when you make an errant throw like that, you've got a guy already at first base. Now he's at third. Now the infield's in, and now a ground ball gets a run home. And those are the kind of errors they're looking to try and eliminate.
Well, every team tries to eliminate that play because it bites every team that makes the mistake. You know, as an Indians team or an offense, when you get a throwing error like that, you have to take advantage of it and get that guy home, and it makes it that much easier for a team, especially if you're struggling offensively. The more mistakes you make as a defense to give a team better opportunities, they take advantage of it at this level.
Shoemaker takes outside corner, a strike called. Down and in. 2 balls and a strike. Three and one. I can't help but thinking as we sit here on March the 17th, still just under, I guess, 3 weeks till opening day. Drilled left field on the run. Brantley makes the catch, and back to first base goes Hamilton, 1 away. Just can't help but thinking, Rick, position players, everybody, they can't wait to get to spring training. It's the beginning again, something starting new. Everybody's excited. Then you go through the drills, and okay, now let's play a game. Everybody's excited. That's first round of games. The blood's flowing. Okay, you're competing again. Now you get to here, and I think everybody kind of hits that almost like the what do you call it? The dog days of summer, during the regular season. This is kind of the dog days of spring
you can call
training.
Them dog days, but you know what it is? It's they know they have 162 that are going to count. And if you're playing every day, you're thinking, wow, I don't want to continue wasting all my swings down here. And when you're going very well, and you're going to be starting, and you feel like you're ready to go. Now, if you're still trying to work on something and do everything, that's one thing. This guy, he's a base stealer, so he may want to get some more reps trying to steal bases when he gets on.
First attempt of the spring.
Well, that's what I'm saying. See, he doesn't want to run because you don't want to beat yourself up in spring training, but you want to get your timing down before you leave. So he knows he's got 3 weeks to go, so there's no hurry for him when he gets on.
So you pick your spots.
And you know what? In the regular season, he might have just tried to take off for third base there after stealing second, but that's his game. Everybody gets ready for their game, and it takes some players a little bit longer than other players. You just want to make sure that you break in a good frame of mind as an individual. And you have to break in a good frame of mind as a team, and healthy, hopefully. And you're ready to go. But then you leave here and you go back home, and the weather's not sunny every day. It's not like this every day. So, watch out what you wish for sometimes.
Off the end of the bat, foul on the right side.
You get down here, and it is fun. Spring training everybody is in a great frame of mind. Every team has an opportunity. Every team believes they're going to win. But remember that 162-game grind, that once the year starts, you forget about spring training, and you forget how much fun it was and how much work you put in. When the bell rings,
fades in a hurry, doesn't it?
It sure does. You're only as good as your last at bat.
High pop infield. Santana and Kipnis converge. Kip calls for it. 2 down.
Well, 20-game season ticket packages in the newly renovated right field district start below $20 per game. You can take in all that's new, including Melt, Barrio, Great Lakes, and more. Plus, great view of the field. Go to Indians.com.
Here's Devin Mesoraco, 0 for 2. He has lined out, struck out. Two out of 11 on the spring, but this guy has tremendous power. He and Yan Gomes of the Indians, two of the top offensive forces behind the dish in their respective leagues. And Shaw powers in a pitch to even the count at 1-1. That kind of play. Mesoraco, another one of the young players that the Reds are committed to for a number of years. He signed through 2018. Former first-round pick in 07. Check to swing. It's a foul. You know, speaking of trying to get through spring healthy, being ready to go when the season begins, Nick Swisher played in a simulated game yesterday, got 3 at-bats, and then today another big hurdle for him to clear. Going to run the bases. Yesterday in the simulated game, he hit, sort of jogged out to first base, but today running the bases, and Terry Francona hopefully feeling he'll be able to clear that and move forward in his rehab. Back goes Michael Brantley onto the track, spins around, makes the catch, and the inning is over. Reds get a run home here in the 5th. They lead it now 4-0. Against Brandon Moss's former team, the Oakland Athletics. Join us for the first pitch at 4 Eastern Time. We're on the way to opening day here on Sports Time Ohio. New pitcher for Cincinnati is their closer, left-handed flamethrower, Aroldis Chapman. And a year ago, equaled the number he wears on his back with 54 appearances. Yan Gomes takes a strike.
Yeah, you remember the incident last spring that happened right here before they got ready to leave when he was hit in the face with a line drive.
Yeah, it was a scary moment.
The bat of Kansas City catcher Salvador Perez. It was very scary where he missed some time. But nobody throws as hard as this guy.
And that pitch up high. 2 balls and a strike.
I would think the approach when you face him is you want to get in the hitter's count like you have it so he can stay away from his slider and try and stay short and quick to his fastball and hope he doesn't get it in on you like he just did there. He can get the barrel of the bat. See, it looked like it might have cracked his bat. We don't have radar gun readings here in spring training, but you know, he throws right around that 100 mark every time out during the regular season.
Broke his bat, rolled toward third, scooped up by Frazier. And he'll throw him out one away. Well, sad news for the Cleveland Indians family is the former beloved third baseman of the tribe, Al Rosen, passed away recently at the age of 91. Played his entire big league career with the Indians, was the MVP in 1953. Lost the Triple Crown by, I think, like 1/10 of a point in the batting
percentage point
race. Otherwise, he'd have been a Triple Crown winner as well.
And what a true gentleman and a tough, hard-nosed player. And a great executive after his playing days. He was executive of the year for the San Francisco Giants. And the times that we've met him, Matt, out at the ballpark or something, what a terrific, just a nice man all the way around.
How he managed to work for George Steinbrenner, I'll never know, because
that's how nice he was.
The personalities there wouldn't seem like they'd match up at all, would they?
Give Al a benefit of the doubt there.
But he did, and it was actually Al Rosen who convinced George Steinbrenner to hire his former teammate Bob Lemon to manage the Yankees, and during one of the episodes in which he had probably fired Billy Martin.
Well, one of the 4 times he rehired him, you mean?
Yeah. Chisenhall shoots it into the crowd foul. And a few of the St. Patty's Day revelers able to get out of the way.
I think it just hit an empty seat. I don't know if anybody moved.
All right. We'll call it what it is. In and out of the glove. Mesoraco couldn't quite hold on to it.
Boy, and as a left-hander, when he has the fastball that he does, it's tough to stay in there on that slider, and Chisenhall just got a piece of it. And Lonnie last year did a nice job against left-handed pitching after he struggled, in his few seasons prior to that.
Rocketed one to deep center. Billy Hamilton on his horse won't get it. It short hops the fence. And into second base with a one-out double is Chisenhall. Well, he went down and golfed that baby.
Chisenhall's a good low ball hitter, but watch his hands when he, even if your front foot goes out and he hit a breaking ball. This is down. And he just kept his hands back and put a really good swing. That's not a bad pitch, because Chapman's going to say, man, I thought I threw a good pitch there. Well, Chisenhall made the adjustment and kept his hands back and really put a good swing and drilled it into right center field for a double. Good at bat by Lonnie. That's not an easy at bat when you've got to face that guy from the left side of the plate.
Brett Hayes, a swing and a miss fly to left his first time up. Well, talking about Al Rosen and his days with the Cleveland Indians and then later with the Yankees, he played with the Indians, as I mentioned, his whole career. And so during his career, the Indians and Yankees had a very heated rivalry, because the Yankees are the only thing standing in the Indians' way for about a decade of winning the pennant and going to the World Series. So you fast forward all these years later, and now Al Rosen's an executive with the Yankees, and George Steinbrenner keeps hiring and firing and rehiring Billy Martin. Well, Al Rosen really didn't care for Billy Martin, and it all went back to their days when they played against you. They just didn't like each other, and I think it went both ways. It wasn't just one disliking the other. And there's a story in the New York Daily News that Al Rosen was once quoted as saying about Billy Martin, "I couldn't warm up to him if we were embalmed together." I mean, that tells you everything you need to know about their relationship right there. But eventually, Al Rosen just had enough, and he said, "The heck with you guys, I quit." Swing and a miss. Hayes goes down swinging. 2 down here in the 5th inning. Steinbrenner tried to talk Al Rosen out of it. even tried to offer him a lifetime contract. And Al Rosen said, "I'll always be your friend, but I could never work for you again." And said,
there
"That's
you
it.
go.
I'm out." And then he went on to roles with the Houston Astros and
the San Francisco
Giants.
Yeah. Right. I remember him out there with the Giants.
Lindor with a bouncer towards third, cut off by Frazier, and he'll throw him out to end the inning. So 5 complete. It's the Reds 4, the Indians nothing. And once again, we mourn the passing of longtime Cleveland Indian Al Rosen.
$10 for kids 12 and under with the purchase of an adult ticket. Located in the new family deck at Progressive Field, home to the expanded kids clubhouse. Just log on to Indians.com.
Todd Frazier, 1 for 2 on the day, a solo homer back in the second inning. Will lead off here in the 6th, and he'll be facing Mark Zipchinski, third Indians pitcher to work here this afternoon. Fourth appearance of the spring for Zipchinski, I guess, at least in what they call A games. It's not like he's been laying around on the couch, and this is only the 4th time he's pitched this spring.
No, they get their innings down in the minor league fields and B games and other things like that, that when they want to get these guys ready. We talked to Mickey Callaway last week, and he says he wants his bullpen guys to go about 7 innings to 9 innings to get them ready for the year.
Rick, I thought it was really interesting yesterday taking in the sim game. Now, you and I went down and watched Carlos Carrasco pitch in what they call a B game.
B game, right.
That's a minor league, it's an official, or not official, but an actual minor league game where you're playing against another team, though. It was right. Indians, Reds, a lot of people around watching it. I went to what they call the simulated game yesterday, and just a handful of Indians minor league players on each side, a couple of guys that are trying to rehab like Nick Swisher.
It's like a pickup game.
And it was like all I could think of was John Feinstein's description of Q School, where the only sound you hear are the whir of a golf cart and a guy screaming when he missed the 2-foot putt that would have gotten him his PGA Tour card. There's no sounds other than what's going on in the field. Everybody's intently watching. Tim Belcher was there, and Ross Atkins, Mickey Callaway. They were watching Salazar pitch. So there were eyes on the game, but no fans. And it was just a completely, almost surreal experience.
It's like a pickup game.
Frazier swinging a miss. But even the players, there was no smack talking. I mean, Clint Frazier hit a home run. It was a mammoth shot. And it was, you didn't hear him. I'm not sure he thought he should run around the bases. He said, should I just go back to the dugout?
You know what to do. Believe me, you hit one, you run them. And you run at your own pace.
There's Jay Bruce, has struck out twice on the day. Once looking, once swinging.
Well, in those kind of games, everybody's trying to get their work in. Although, even though you're trying to get your work in, you still want to succeed, and you still have that drive to try and get a base hit if you're an everyday player against that pitcher that's pitching. You know, if you're a minor league kid and you see Salazar's pitching, they want to get a base hit because they know he's been in the big leagues before and he's done this, and you want to get hits off the better people that you see in the game. It doesn't change even though there's nobody there cheering you on. You still do it, but the motivational factor comes from within.
Now the 1-1. Sure, during the regular season, Jay Bruce sees his share of situational left-handers.
Yeah, here's another Cincinnati Red that had some issues last year with the injury bug. He's trying to put it behind him and have a good year. Coming off a tough year.
Lindor throws him out with that shift on. Rick, you've been alluding to this a number of times during our telecast. 4 guys, 70 or more appearances out of that Indians bullpen last year, and yet, even though the appearances are high, the innings pitched very low, relatively speaking.
And you know what? These guys, and they protect these guys because they ask them, and Francona and Callaway say to them, yeah, hey, are you okay to go today? These guys have the right to say, hey, I'm a little tired, I need an extra day. But they don't because they know they're going to be out there for 15, 20 pitches, and their job is to go out and throw strikes. So they dig down deep, and they should have a little more help this year.
Found right back.
With a couple of guys that we have talked about, some left-handers that Francona worked into the rotation last year. Not deep into the rotation, but at least got them appearances and improved as the year went on and got their feet wet to the major leagues with Hagedorn and Crockett. They're going to be better this year. They should be ready for some more, stiffer competition or stiffer work.
Yanked to left field, a base hit by Zach Cozart, and a 2-out base runner for Cincinnati. Now, I think that would certainly go a long way to helping that bullpen's cause this year. If some other guys could step forward and just be reliable to go to in those late inning situations.
Well, they will. They're not going to go to these guys in late inning when they're up a run, but they can eat up some really tough situations when they're in a tie ball game and they're in the 7th inning or something when you can bring them in. You never know if McAllister doesn't make the starting rotation. You're going to have that arm coming out of the bullpen too. Because that's, I think, the really fight, the only fight that you have left now is for that starting rotation. I believe T.J. House is going to get that number 4 spot. As it looks right now. So the number 5 spot is going to be out there for 3 or 4 guys. McAllister, Tomlin, Salazar, and Markham.
And it's really way too early to call. And as Terry Francona has pointed out, look, it's March 17th.
Yeah, you don't make a decision now.
So many things could happen between now and then. And that's why you want to build up some depth so that if you have an injury like they've already had to Gavin Floyd, you're not scrambling now to find somebody. You've got competition.
Broken bat CNI single for Donald Lutz.
Cozart will go to third. And there are Reds at the corners with 2 down now here in the 6th inning. And we'll bring up Christopher Negron, who is 2 for 2 with a home run, a single, and 2 runs scored. This was back in the 3rd off Corey Kluber. Jumped on a 1-0 fastball and just drove it out of here.
Yeah, he played awfully well against the Indians last year.
Down on the dirt, blocked by Hayes. There's what he did in the 3 games that he played against the Tribe. 7 out of 13.
Yeah, we saw enough of him in the 6 games. Or was it 4 games?
Yeah, I'm trying to think, why didn't he play in the 4th game?
Yeah. I don't know why.
I can't remember. Maybe he was hurt. Who knows?
Well, he had to be,
did enough damage in
he
the
sees
3.
the Indians come to town. Yeah, he probably goes to bed in his uniform. Can't wait to get up in the morning.
Like he's 12 again.
Yeah, right.
2-1 pitch. Bounce to third. Chisenhall will go to second. High throw. Kipnis nails the bag to end the inning. No runs, 2 hits, 2 men left. Middle of the 6th. Cincinnati 4, Cleveland nothing. Michael Bourne leading off for the Tribe here in the home half of the 6th, facing Aroldis Chapman, who worked a scoreless 5th inning. Brantley shoots it out of play. Excuse me, Bourne shoots it out of play. Now he wraps one to left center field. That's in the gap. Hamilton will cut it off, and he'll hold Bourne to a leadoff single. Second hit of the day for Bourne, who's really been tearing it up this spring. That's 11 hits now in 22 at bats.
Tell you what, he fouled off the fastball the pitch before this, but he got one up and he was ready for it again. And right there, Chapman's probably thinking, boy, I had him if I throw the slider. But Michael had his chance for one, fouled it off, but they came back with another and put a good swing on a fastball.
Tyler Holt will pinch run for Bourne. And Jason Kipnis, the batter, 0 for 2 on the day. 4 out of 18 on the spring. A couple of doubles.
Ooh.
And that one was up and in as he was
got a piece of
about
the
a bunt.
umpire. Looked like it deflected off the bat of Kipnis.
Umpire Pat Hoberg says he's all right. Get another look.
Boy, this thing's coming fast. He tried to pull it out of the way, and it sounded like it got a piece of it, didn't it? Or no?
It didn't look like it, though.
Okay, then maybe what happens a lot of times when a guy goes to bunt and he pulls the bat back, the catcher doesn't see the ball, he loses it, and Mesoraco never got a glove on it and hit the umpire.
Well, maybe Tyler Holt thought it was a foul ball, too. Otherwise.
Well, I'm sure he did.
Yeah.
He didn't go anywhere.
Ball 4. Chapman has allowed a single and now a 4-pitch walk. And up comes Michael Brantley. Get a pinch runner now for Kipnis. I believe it's Audie Siriaco who comes in the game. Well, maybe not. Eric Gonzalez will be the pinch runner for Kipnis. Chapman deals, and Brantley looks. It's outside, and Mesoraco couldn't even hold on to that ball, so maybe their signals were crossed up. He's going to go have a chat. Never want to get fooled when you're the guy back there putting down the fingers.
Not when this guy's throwing, you certainly do not.
Yeah, you expect a breaking ball, and he throws a fastball and
kill you.
You might not even get a glove on it.
No. Yeah, if there's any doubt of what those signals are, you better call timeout and you better go talk to them to get on the same page.
Brantley a walk and a ground out here today. Spins away from a fastball up and in. Chapman, a guy who routinely hits triple digits during the season. I wouldn't imagine he's hitting those kind of velocities here in spring training.
Certainly wouldn't think so, but he's rushing it up there. And this is something, if you're an Indians hitter and you get a chance to face this guy, you don't mind facing him in spring training because you know you're going to face these guys 6 times this year.
Nice play in right field by Jay Bruce. He takes a hit away from Michael Brantley for the first out of the inning.
Well, Brantley hit this ball. It looked like it got in on him a little bit because it was going to get down. And he put a good swing on it. But as Bruce comes in, he'll pick it up off the ground and make a nice sliding catch for the first out. That's a big play in the inning.
And with one away, Carlos Santana, the batter, 0 for 2 on the day. He has struck out and popped up right in front of home plate.
Yeah, anytime you get a chance to face a guy like this, you want to take it so you can file it in your back in the memory bank, because you know we're going to face him a number of times this year in the 6 games that we face him.
That just reminds me, earlier today we were having something to eat before the ball game, and we saw Jesse Levis, former Indians backup catcher,
scouting for Philadelphia,
and he was telling us about how he faced Randy Johnson in spring training. He said after facing him, everybody else looked hittable. Now, Jesse, for fans who don't remember, was a left-handed hitter, so for any left-handed hitter, the last guy you want to face is Randy Johnson.
Well, and he got the chance because the regulars never wanted to face him in spring training. So, you know, when you're one of those regulars, you're going to get those guys.
But I would agree with you, Rick, even though it's spring training, just to get a gauge on what it looks like coming out his hand. Gives you a reference point for later when
you get to see where the arm slot comes from, where the ball comes out of, and how fast it gets on you. You just want some kind of reference point. You hate to go in there with the game on the line and never really faced him before. You want to see maybe the break of his slider, although it may be different the next time you face him, but still, you're still learning. That's an at-bat that you want.
The 2-2. Santana takes a fastball right there for strike 3 called. 2 down.
And you come down here and he just throws it, and it's got a little run to it to the inside part of the plate. Good pitch.
You could see, though, the way Mesoraco caught that. You could see why Santana didn't off-red. It looked like it might have been inside, or at least it was moving that way.
Yeah, it was running in.
Brandon Moss 0 for 2 on the day. Both times he has struck out. Cuts and misses there.
Now, this is going to be power against power. We'll see if he can throw the fastball by Moss upstairs, and then Watch out if he throws the slider.
A ball and a strike. Moss getting the start today in right field. So the Indians easing him into outfield duties. But so far, no complaints from Moss about his surgically repaired hip. He's been really good to go since early in camp, under the watchful eye of the Indians medical staff. The 2-1, just off the outside corner. Tell you, stand next to Brandon Moss. He's not a physically imposing athlete. But boy, when you watch him swing the bat, especially when you're up close.
Yeah, but he's solid and he's strong. And he's got some bat speed.
I took a photo of him in a cage when he was swinging, taking batting practice. And I'm sure this is true with almost every major league hitter. I just never realized how much the bat physically bends to the point where it looks like it's going to snap in half when he puts it into motion.
What you need is the audio so you can hear the crack of the bat. That's about as loud as you can get.
Moss out looking with the runners moving. Back-to-back strikeouts ends the inning. And after 6, it remains Cincinnati 4, Cleveland nothing.
By bobbleheads of Cy Young Award winner Corey Kluber, manager Terry Francona, along with a Yan Gomes jersey, and always we'll have the fireworks and Dollar Dog Nights events that'll return for this year. Just go to Indians.com.
Defensively now for the Indians, Destin Hood is in left, Tyler Holt in center, Ryan Rayburn is in right field. On the infield, Aguilar at first, Eric Gonzalez at second, and Adam Moore is now behind the plate. Those are all the new players in the ballgame for the Tribe. Chisenhall, Lindor remain the only 2 starters still in there for Cleveland. Cody Allen, the new pitcher now for the Tribe, as he comes on to work the 7th inning. He's got the top of the Reds order, but like Cleveland, they've made some changes. So Ivan DeJesus Jr. will be leading off. He took over for Billy Hamilton. Upstairs. 2 balls, no strikes. DeJesus was acquired by Cincinnati in a deal with the Pittsburgh Pirates that involved Joel Hanrahan. De Jesus and Jerry Sands both went to the Cincinnati Reds in that trade. He's been involved in a couple of big trades. He was also dealt earlier in his career by the Dodgers to the Red Sox in the Josh Beckett, Carl Crawford, Adrian Gonzalez swap. Drilled out of play to the right. Reds leading at 4-0. We're in the 7th. And Cody Allen delivers the 2-2. Slowly chopped towards third, and it's going to kick foul right in front of the bag. Cody Allen finished last year with 24 saves and a 2.07 ERA last year for the Indians after he took over the closer's duties and did a tremendous job. Hey, let's head back down to the Indians dugout. We're joined now by Brandon Moss, who got a little outfield time today. Obviously, Brandon, everything seems to be going smoothly with regards to your comeback from the off-season hip surgery.
Yeah, I feel really good. You know, obviously everything's just at a point where I'm building up things and getting used to playing a position again. But, I mean, the hip feels great, and it feels good to be able to be on the field a little bit.
A lot of hard work had to go into that, huh, Brandon?
Yeah, I mean, anytime you go through an injury, you know, I think there's the sense of urgency to get back to being 100%. But, you know, so many things go into it with the rehab. You know, not only do you have to let it heal, you have to strengthen it and then do things to protect things like that from happening again as best you can. And a lot goes into that.
And when you come back, how much of that is mental to really believe that you can do whatever you want to do with it?
I think that's the biggest hurdle you get through is doing different things. You keep wondering things that hurt it before when it was hurt, and you try them again. You're wondering if it's going to hurt or not. You're wondering if it's going to feel like it felt. And every time you do something new and it doesn't hurt and it feels good, it's another stepping stone that you break through.
Brandon, I've had a couple of conversations this spring with different people. I remember talking to Travis Hafner, talking to Terry Francona. You know, when guys have injuries, they tend to, whether they realize it or not, make alterations in their swing. You compensate so that you can get on the field and help your team, but what happens is you fall into bad habits. Did you find that happen to you last year?
Of course. I mean, that's just natural because obviously if you're swinging a certain way and it's hurting, you know, or even pitchers when they're throwing, anytime you're doing something and it hurts, your body's going to try to find a way to do it so that it doesn't hurt. And you know, you can do that for a while. You can play on adrenaline, and then if it's not too bad, you can even continue to do things that have made you successful. But once it gets to a certain point, you know, you find yourself sacrificing a lot, and you don't even know how to really do the things that it was that you were doing before because you've made so many different changes just to try to play through the pain. So
that's my question. Once you go through all that, how do you get back to your baseline coming out this spring? Actually, to be honest, I mean, there's still some things with timing and stuff like that you go through, but it hasn't been that hard. Just because, you know, you rest for 3-4 months and then you come out and, you know, you're going through your rehab, you're progressing. So you're doing T work first and then you're doing flips. So you have all that time while you're rehabbing and while you're doing things to try to get your hip or your leg or whatever it is back. You can work on your mechanics and kind of go through things that they're little checkpoints that you've had before in the past.
I know it's been you know, just a short period of time here in spring training with a new ball club, but how does this clubhouse and manager rate with the one you just came from over there in Oakland? Because I know you guys had a pretty good chemistry over there. Yeah, I mean, obviously over there was some good chemistry and it was a good team. But I think I fit in with the guys over here even better, just because they're a lot more like me. You know, they're loud, they're outspoken, they joke around a lot, and they have fun out here. And I think. You know, Tito has a lot to do with that. He allows us to kind of be ourselves and let personalities come out and shine. And, you know, it's a great place to come and do that because there's a lot of unique personalities here. And you and Tito go back when you were first signed with Boston, right? Yeah, when I was coming up, he was the big league manager. I only played for him a little bit in 2007 and then some in 2008 before I was traded. But obviously I enjoyed my time there and my time with him. So it's always good.
Now, maybe his memory's fogged a little bit. You never know with a guy like him. But he says you're running better now than you were when you were a young guy in Boston.
Yeah, that's not saying much, though. I mean, I've never been a fast guy. I'm not slow by any means, but I've never been really known for my speed. So while some people may take that and run with it as a compliment, I think it's just more of a, well, I mean, there wasn't really much that he could do to be a much worse base runner or runner. So he looks good now.
Well, hit him over the fence, and you won't have to worry about how fast you run.
Yeah, there you go.
That's the way I look at it.
Francona has you batting 5th here this afternoon, right behind Carlos Santana, in front of Yan Gomes. That wouldn't be a bad spot during the regular season. Do you have a preference or a thought where you like to hit, where you're most comfortable in the lineup?
No, I mean, obviously everybody wants to hit in the middle of the lineup, and certain things that I do usually fit well there. But at the same time, every lineup has to have its balance and balance it the best way you can, and it's a good spot because right now with Yanni behind me, he's right-handed, and Carlos in front of me, he's a switch hitter, so it makes the other team have to think about their matchups a little bit. I think that's a good thing you're always trying to find in any lineup, is that balance, so that you make them waste as many bullets as they can, or think about another guy coming in.
And you're going to get an opportunity to play first, right field, and also DH. So defensively, you're going to be moving around a little bit as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's nothing new. I've done that for the past few years,
right.
And I enjoy that. I enjoy first base because you get to talk to people and you're involved in every play. I enjoy the outfield just because, it's a mental break sometimes. But obviously, I have the ability to play those positions. But I mean, it doesn't matter to me. I don't have a preference as to which one to play.
No, that's always the part of baseball is that people think of it. We look at the individual statistics, but it's a team game, and what Francona tries to do is make sure that everybody's involved and everybody's getting their opportunities.
I mean, I think that's a great way to do it. I mean, we have a lot of guys on this team that are able to contribute, and to sit there and say that this guy needs to play here, this guy needs to there, kind of does an injustice to the other guys on the team. There's a lot of guys on this team that are capable of doing really good things.
Visiting with Brandon Moss here in the 7th inning. There's a ball driven to center field, caught by Tyler Holt. Brandon, thanks for stopping by. We appreciate the time. Best of luck to you this year.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
That's Brandon Moss. No runs, a hit, a man left. Stretch time in Goodyear. 4-0 Cincinnati. Four-0 Cincinnati. Not the same Reds team that started this game, but here's a look at who's in there now. Winker, Amaral, and Selski in the outfield. Mejias, Breen, Suarez, DeJesus, and Wallach on the infield, and Barnhart behind the dish.
Well, the first 3 games that we televised was just starting out spring training, all with the Reds. This is our 4th game out of the 6 that these 2 teams will play. And they were making those changes in the 3rd inning. So now they're at least doing it in the 6th. And I think maybe by the next time we play, it might be the 7th or 8th.
Jan Gomes takes a strike from Burke Badenhop. Grounded towards short. And Gomes retired 1 away. Well, baseball's official youth skills program, Major League Baseball Pinch Hit and Run, presented by Scott's, launched over the weekend. There was a clinic down in the player development complex here in Goodyear. You see Trevor Bauer there, along with Lonnie Chisenhall. A number of Reds players also contributing. Devin Mesoraco, Billy Hamilton. Reds Hall of Famer Tom Browning was there as well. Last year, more than 500,000 kids participated in the program. And the competitions compete during All-Star Game Week this year in Cincinnati. Log on to pitchhitandrun.com for more information. Two down here in the 7th. Adam Moore getting his first at bat here today, taking over the catching duties from Brett Hayes. Out of play. Little over 5,000 today here for this matchup between the Indians and Reds. 5,188 on this St. Patrick's Day, and a beautiful afternoon here in Goodyear. More strikes out. Indians go 1, 2, 3. We head to the 8th. 4-0 Cincinnati. New pitcher for Cleveland as we go to the 8th inning. Left-hander Scott Downs. Downs attempting to make the Indians ball club at age 39. In fact, he's celebrating his birthday today. He's a St. Patrick's Day guy.
No kidding. Happy birthday.
He's been a terrific player over his career. As you also look at Audie Siriaco taking over for Lonnie Chisenhall at third base. And he's pitched a long time. Been a quality veteran. Question is, Rick, is there a spot for him on a bullpen that you figure already has 3 lefties sort of penciled in there?
Right. Yes. No, I don't. It's really an outside chance. I think you bring a guy in like this in case something should happen. But already with the 3 that they have out there, they're not going to use any more than that, I would not think, in the bullpen.
The 3 that we're speaking of course, Mark Zubchinski, who worked the 6th inning here, or worked the 7th inning here today. You've
Nick
got
Hagedorn.
Nick Hagedorn and Kyle Crockett.
Right.
But again,
you know, in his day, he could get lefties or righties out. He was, you know, in his heyday, a tough pitcher, very good pitcher.
Reliable for a long time, as we mentioned.
He'd go out there, yes, 65, 70 times a year, and work deep in games.
Off-speed pitch, lays off. Started out his career with the Montreal Expos back in 2000 when he made his Major League debut, but
not many people can say that, huh? Started with Montreal.
They're few and far between these days.
Nowadays, yes, indeed.
Grounded to third, Siriaco.
Montreal trying to bid for another franchise up there, for another ball club.
Well, look, I know when it ended, it was ugly, but it usually is. Teams don't usually pick up and move when things are going really well. But there was a time, I mean, when I was a kid in the 70s, they had some good teams. They had some good players.
Well, they supplied the big leagues with great players around baseball. When you think about it, Randy Johnson.
Yeah.
I mean, we could go on and on with players that were drafted by the Montreal Expos that ended up going elsewhere because they couldn't afford to pay them.
But I mean, back, you know, like I said, when I was growing up, I mean, they had, you know, Warren Cromartie, Tim Raines. They always had
the Hawk.
Yeah, Andre Dawson. They always had good players. But, you know, they had teams like the We Are Family Pirates or the Cincinnati Reds. There's always somebody kind of blocking their way. Phillies, Cubs. But, you know, that mid-90s run they had was impressive with Marquise Grissom, Andres Galarraga. Point is, they were a good baseball town, but it soured there toward the end, and I don't think they ever quite recovered after the baseball strike for whatever reason. I mean,
right.
It was slow to come back in a lot of places.
Anyway, you know, as Canada is, you see it up in Toronto. You know, where Toronto had that run in the early 90s. And, you know, they sold out that at the time, the Sky Dome. And it was great baseball up there. But it's hockey up in Canada, #1 sport.
Well, and especially when you get up to Montreal.
Yeah. We were there the one time. That one road trip we went from Florida up to Montreal to Boston. That's when we traded Cologne to Montreal.
I'll never forgive you for that.
You never forgive me?
Well, you said we. Like you and I were in on the phone calls.
No, we wish we were.
You know, the other thing you forget, Rick, going back, way back, I mean, Jackie Robinson played in Montreal when they were a farm club for the Dodgers. Center field, Tyler Holt. So it really does have a great baseball heritage, but you know, whether or not it's a viable big league city, that's what somebody's going to have to determine.
Well, we'll see. Yes, because expansion in baseball, I don't think they need to expand any more than they have now. But a lot of people feel there's too many teams in baseball now. It's watering down the talent.
Well, and with Commissioner Rob Manfred stopping by here today in Goodyear to see both the Indians and the Reds, look, he's already made it public that one of the issues at the top of his agenda is a new ballpark for the Oakland A's.
Yes.
And I'm not proposing.
I agree.
I'm not proposing that they would be a team that up and moves. But if a city like Montreal wants a club, I agree with you. I don't think it's going to be via expansion. It's going to have to be a franchise that's not making it where they're at,
right?
And maybe looking at that as an option. And so if you have that as a backdrop, then maybe that spurs people in Oakland and that are in those decision-making positions to say, let's get something done. Let's get moving on this thing.
Well, they've been fighting that for so long. I know Bud Selig, the former commissioner, that he was getting out of office before he took on that situation there, because the rights in San Jose belong to the Giants. But I agree, Oakland does need a new ballpark.
And
no question.
I think Tampa might be in the same situation. You know, the Rays,
yes,
they've had great teams
and still don't draw,
but not a real good facility there where they're at. I mean, it served its purpose, but I think they need something better.
If they're going to compete in the East, they can't pay with the teams that they're up against. Let's put it that way, with the facility that they have.
3-2 pitch, swing and a miss. Another ho-hum 1-2-3 inning for Scott Downs with a strikeout. We'll head to the bottom of the 8th. Still 4-0 Cincinnati. Hit 60 degrees yesterday in Cleveland. You hear that?
Yes, I did.
Well, tomorrow, doubleheader of action tomorrow on Fox Sports Ohio. Cavaliers, Brooklyn Nets at the Q at 6:30. Cavaliers live. Then immediately after the game, they're going to take you out to Western Canada when the Blue Jackets take on the Edmonton Oilers. Don't miss it tomorrow night on Fox Sports Ohio.
What is it today?
How about 40?
What's it going to be tomorrow?
Look, I think winter's behind us, but
well, let's hope so.
I think yesterday was one of those days where everybody, cabin fever, they were probably breaking out the suntan lotion.
I don't blame them. After what they had to put up with all winter long, you see a day in the 60s, it's like, let's go. Something they've been waiting for.
I know those guys working on the ballpark have been waiting for it too. It's they could use a little warm up.
Well, it won't be long, my friends. We will be back home and ready to play baseball at Progressive Field.
Francisco Lindor, 1 for 2 today, 8 for 27 on the spring. I asked Terry Francona about him today, and he said, look, he's always been the youngest guy at every level that he's played at. He said, we're getting to know him, though, as a staff a little bit more. There's a bouncer towards first. But he said, look, he should be a confident young man because he's got all the abilities. He's got a great arm, athletic ability, can put the bat on the ball. So, but what I like about him is it takes some leadership out there on the field. He knows all the signs. He's talking to base runners when they're in game situations. He's talking to his other fielders. And those are all positive things that has everybody very excited about his future.
That young man is not far away. He really isn't. I would not be surprised to see him this year.
No, I wouldn't argue with that. And you know what? Hey, Jose Ramirez, for his part, is having a terrific spring as well.
Well, he's putting up the fight.
He's hitting .345.
Yeah. It's great competition to watch. And Lindor is, he's the #1 seed at shortstop. So if he comes up here for Ramirez, that's not saying Ramirez can't play somewhere else too.
Right.
It's not saying he's only a shortstop. He was playing second and third last year as well. I mean, you don't look at, at least I wouldn't look at Ramirez as a third baseman, but who's to say that he can't play over there? You don't look at him over there as a hitter. You may look at him as more of a second baseman, but then he's got a battle with Jason Kipnis.
It's almost too young to think about in a super sub role down the road like Mike Avila's, right?
For right now, absolutely. You got to see if he can play every day.
Tyler Holt banks it towards third. Foul ball by inches. Seth Mejias-Breen over there at the hot corner now for Cincinnati. Tyler Holt back to the dish. His first at bat of the day came on as a pinch runner for Bourne in the sixth. Boy, Michael Bourne having a very good spring at the plate. You got to hope that for Bourne that's something that carries over right on into the regular season. Indians will open the regular season in Michael Bourne's hometown of Houston. And Rick and I will be there to bring it with you. Holt drives one foul down the right side.
Yeah, we'll be there 158 times to bring the Indians baseball this year.
Oh, you've got it broken down, the 4 we're missing?
Yeah, well, I know we're only missing 4.
Here's the way it starts out. Opener on Monday, off day Tuesday, and then back-to-backs.
Tough to figure out how you get an off day with a dome. But you do.
Yeah.
On the road. It would be nice if we could play Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, come back home and get that off day, but doesn't work out that way.
Holt called out on strikes, and there are 2 down. Mike Leake was the starter for Houston today. He pitched 4 innings.
Cincinnati. We're opening in Houston.
He pitched for Cincinnati. Allowed 1 hit, walked 1, struck out 3. And
hey, we've seen Mike Leake before pitch very well against the Indians. He's a control guy. He moves the ball around the strike zone. He changes speeds.
Gave up 2 hits, the back-to-back singles in that 3rd inning.
He's a good pitcher.
Eric Gonzalez. Here's another young man that, again, sort of gets overlooked because of the young prospects in Lindor and Jose Ramirez, but he's put up pretty good numbers as well.
Every time that the spring training and you get to see as much of these guys as we do, Terry Francona and his staff, they love it too because they get introduced to some of these kids and how they play.
Boy, Tony Cingrani is painting here in the 8th inning. Back-to-back Ks ends the frame for Zip Cincinnati. Earlier today here in Goodyear, the Tribe hosted a group of veterans from the United States Marine Corps. And then Brandon Moss was in there showing them, all right, guys, you're going to get in the cage, take some hacks. No, they were just in there to watch BP.
Well, they have had some people out here shagging and things like that. I know one thing. You better be ready for those baseballs if you're out shagging, because they can get on you in a hurry, but it's great to have them out.
Here is Jeff Manship in his time with the Phillies last year. 1 up, 2 down, 6.65 ERA. He'll face 8, 9, and 1 in the Cincinnati order here in the 9th, with the Reds in front 4-0. Michael Martinez takes over at second base, and Eric Gonzalez flips over to short. First ball swinging. Steven Selski sends one to deep center, and Holt can't get to it. Tips off the end of his glove, and Selski around second on his way to third. He'll go in with a stand-up triple.
Now, here's one of those plays where if you look, the wind is now turned around and blowing out, and it had some carry to it, and I think this ball fooled Holt a little bit because he keeps running and running, and you just never catch up to it. He got leather on it. But I don't think the sun is really in his eyes right now, but you're still battling that sun. But it's the wind that's pushing the ball away from you.
Yeah, wind's blowing out.
That makes it so hard. Yeah, now it's a point in time where you play deep and cut across. You don't play shallow and have to run after him because you'll never catch up.
Infield in now for Bo Amaral. We had a day the other couple of days ago where we went out and talked to Brad Mills out on the field about outfield play, about how guys handle certain situations, and that was one we asked. When a guy's got to turn and go after a baseball, it's one of the hardest things to do for an outfielder.
Well, number one, you're going to get to the spot quicker because now you're going to put your head down and you're going to run. And when you do that, you want to run like this. We don't want to see guys running like this with their hand up in the air. And you will see that in occasion. Guys will kind of run like this, and they're not going to be able to get to that spot. Thing to teach guys in spring training is to do just what you just said. Take your eye off the ball. And the reason is you have such a high sky and the sun is out there. Man, you take your eye off the bat. Just standing out here in batting practice, you take your eye off the ball, you can't find it when you turn back around. So when we get during the season, a lot of times when that ball gets above the lights, it's a lot easier for guys to take off running, turn back around, they can look above the lights and see it. And that just goes from experience, knowing exactly where you are on the field.
Yeah, when you put that third deck up on a stadium, it makes a big difference. It may be intimidating when you first get called up, but as far as vision goes and things like that, it certainly helps you out. And he is dead right. It's tough to take your eye off a ball out here in Arizona because you may not pick it back up again.
Is that a fundamental mistake, though, you see young guys making, though, Rick, when you turn and you're running for ball and you put your glove up too soon?
Well, yeah. Yes. It slows you down a step or a half a step or whatever. You want to not – the last time you want to put your glove out is on your last step, is get it out there. But you become a sprinter, and you sprint to a point, and you'll be surprised at how much you can catch up to a baseball out there. And the key is the first couple of steps and getting your shoulders and hips lined up properly in the line that you're going. And it's the first 2 steps off the bat.
Looked like Holt did a good job as far as sprinting to the ball. He just couldn't catch up to it.
Well, if he could have taken his eye off the ball and just ran to a spot where he thought it was going to land, that
might
would
have had a better
certainly
shot.
help him. Yes, he would have caught it because you got leather on it. He probably should have caught it because you get leather on it, but you just don't know out here.
And that wind
this air is so much
good.
lighter, and the ball comes down quicker here on you with less humidity. You know, it really does. You'll say, what are you talking about? And, you know, he knows he's going to catch up to it, but then he's got to really reach out for it right at the end. And he didn't put his glove out there too soon. You start panicking when you say, oh, my goodness, I don't think I'm going to catch up with the ball. And it's all going through your mind, and this happened so quickly you know, it's rushing through your mind, and you figure you got to catch the ball. Well, you've got a chance. If you can get another out here and not let the runner score, then you feel a lot better. But you know, if that run scores, you feel bad, thinking you should have made the play.
2-2 from Manship.
There you
Bounce
go.
to third.
There you go. Now
And
you got a chance to get out of it.
Throws him out, 2 down.
Yeah, here in Arizona, the depth perception, you have really nothing to look up to get a read. Because of the seats, it's all silver up here, and it's tough to pick up. You get into the baseball stadiums, the seats are green, or the seats are red, or they're dark, and it's you've got a much better backdrop that you can go in and look at. And you can hear the crack of the bat a little bit better than you can in an open field like this. And usually the ball doesn't carry like it does in the light air here in Arizona. You can tell when you hit your golf ball, you're hitting it a lot further than you do at home.
I thought it was just the fact they got more roll.
That too. The ground's a little bit harder.
Yeah.
It's fun to hit out here. It's not fun to pitch. You know, they say the same thing when you go to Texas. The breaking balls are Colorado. They don't break like they should. You don't get as much bite on your curve ball because of the rotation, and you know, it just happens. The lighter air.
Fouled away by Skip Shoemaker, and there are 2 strikes now with the ball and 2 down. Runner at third.
Be a great job by Manship if he can get out of this with the leadoff triple. Ooh, he thought about it.
No, the third base umpire.
I was waiting for him to ring him up. Let's take a look from this angle. Oh, yeah. I say he went.
There's a fly ball down the line, and that's out of play. Not by much, though.
That wind kept it from blowing into the seats.
Now, with Destin Hood out there, he can scale the walls and go get them.
He's made a couple of nice catches in games that we have had televised back this year. First one was up against the left field wall, remember. Get out of an inning.
Former highly recruited football player coming out of high school. Two-two pitch. Hit hard to third. Siriaco stabs it, drops it, picks it, throws it, got him.
Good job.
He never panicked. And that's the key to ending the inning. Red Strand, a runner at third. Bottom of the ninth coming up. Coming up after the ball game, it's Drennan Live, followed by Beating the Odds, the Al Rosen story. It's all right here on Sports Time Ohio. I'm sure Bruce has filled out his tournament brackets. He'll be letting you know who's going to win the whole thing. Well, that won't be hard to figure out.
You wouldn't think so, but you never know.
Yeah, that's true.
That's why they play the games. Those things can be a lot of fun and interesting games coming down the stretch.
Bounce foul by Destin Hood, third base side. Well, I know they lost last night, but how about the game Kyrie Irving had the other night against San Antonio?
57? That was a good game. That was fun. I watched that game.
Unbelievable. There at the end. Destin Hood bounces one to second base. And De Jesus throws him out one away. Corey Kluber got the start for the Indians this afternoon. He went 4 innings.
He had a couple of mistakes on a 1-0 fastball, threw him right down the middle, and both pitches were hit out of the ballpark.
But he was behind in the count today a number of times, too. Didn't look sharp as you were.
Yeah, he wasn't commanding his fastball, and there were some pitches over. But you know what? It's a matter of getting a feel and getting your rhythm going. So it's actually only his second start in an A game. So
finished his day down in the bullpen. Made 65 pitches in the 4 innings he was in there. But the key for Kluber, the march toward opening day in Houston, and Terry Francona did make that official. It was not exactly a
well, it was official,
mystery.
But yeah, right. It wasn't mentioned until later.
I think there's also, funny how it tends to happen in sports, there's a bit of irony for me in it. If I remember right, that was the game that Corey pointed to that sort of was a big moment in his career. He came out of the bullpen, was in Houston.
Oh, yeah.
Pitched like 7 innings, I think, or some crazy thing like that.
Yes.
And just said, hey, you know what? I can do this. My stuff plays well at this level. I can get hitters out. And the next thing you know, you got a Cy Young Award winner on your hands.
Well, he went on that year and pitched very well.
And if not for the little finger injury that he had, he was putting together solid numbers 2 years ago.
He sure was.
Strike 3 called. Aguilar out looking. That's the 10th strikeout for Cincinnati Reds pitching here this afternoon. Every Reds pitcher that has thrown today has punched out at least one. Brian Price, a former pitching coach, now the skipper in Cincinnati, entering his 2nd year at the helm. Has to love that. Ryan Rayburn gets an at bat here.
Well, Cingrani was going to get an opportunity to start for the Reds this year, but they're going to use him out of the bullpen. They think he's best suited. And he's been pounding the strike zone.
Suarez from short throws out Rayburn, and the Indians go 1-2-3, and Cincinnati Reds pitching really dominating here this afternoon. They retire the last 12 Indians hitters in a row to finish the ball game. Cincinnati a winner by a final score of 4-0. They go to 7-7 with a couple of ties on the spring. Indians fall to 6-9 here in Cactus League action. So for the Indians, they'll have an off day tomorrow. Rare day of no baseball. But they'll get the day off. Everybody gets a chance to sort of collectively catch their breath and get ready for the Cactus League stretch run, if you will, before it's time to start the regular season down in Houston. So Rick and I will be coming your way next Monday when the Indians take on the Oakland Athletics right here in Goodyear, Arizona. We'll have that